in the world, almost 2 million people who have become certified as professional project managers. And with that comes some interesting things. Doesn't change the skill set, but it does point out that in order to do it effectively, we need consistency in the management information that's provided. At the end of the day, from what I can tell, project management systems don't manage anything. Our primary goal is to provide you, the decision maker, with the most adequate and timely information to base those decisions upon. And that's what we've got in this way of project management. We have a certification program that nowhere in that program does it guarantee results. It does provide a consistency, though, across organizational boundaries, that we provide everyone the same basic information to base your decisions upon. And if our theory is, if we give everybody the same kind of information, it should improve the decision-making capability. However, before I left this week, I discovered some information that I haven't been able to validate yet because it's too fresh in my mind. But what they pointed out in this study was that for every $1 billion of construction projects being undertaken, there's 140 million of wasted dollars. So for $1 billion program, 140 billion just flies away. That requires some serious management attention. We need to reduce that waste, if you will, to do this more effectively. And so what we've proposed to do in the Project Management Institute environment is to improve the decision-making information. Now, when I add the environmental concerns, when I add AI to the mix, it gives us a lot more to deal with. When I was doing the nuclear projects, very little of it was paid attention to environmental concerns. Now, the environmental concerns have taken over such a primary spot that we in the U.S. and in some international markets as well are actually being forced to shut down nuclear reactors, power generating reactors, because we don't have a place to store the spent fuel rods. Very highly interactive in terms of half-life of that exposed fuel rod capability. So I had a chance to put together a program for the Department of Energy that our job was to find a place to store spent fuel rods. And what we found is that I worked on that project for 3 years. Our job was to find the right geological setting to bury spent fuel in that would be safe, that would not interact with the communities and the environments. We did that for 3 years. We spent $300 million a year for 3 years. We came up with a solution. Our job was to evaluate 6 geologic sites in the United States that were potential for burying high-level radioactive waste. So we did that. We ran this program, and after 3 years, we made a recommendation to the Department of Energy that we store the spent fuel rods in the Yucca Mountain in Nevada, the location of the test site for everything you can imagine that had any geologic capabilities. We looked at it from that standpoint. My first job was to engineer and design downhole apparatus to hold the nuclear device when we were doing underground nuclear reactor testing. So we still were doing live tests underground and my job was to design the apparatus to hold those tests. Well, that's why we thought Yucca Mountain, the geology there, would be a perfect place to bury this. We made the recommendation, DOE took it to the public, and thinking that, well, they've done nuclear things at the test site for so many years, they must be an acceptable environment. We were wrong. The environmental issues had become so big and so complex that the people of Nevada voted it down. So after 3 years and about $1 billion, we still had no place to put this stuff. And right now what we're seeing internationally, as well as in the US, we're actually closing power generation nuclear reactors because we have no place to store the fuel. The spent fuel is being held on site, and the on-site storage is full. So we are now having to shut down power reactors at a time when the need for electricity is going through the roof. We're now closing down reactors so that we no longer have those to provide that capability. So we're still find ourselves stuck in a fossil fuel environment, and there's no project management system that's going to change that. What's changing is our innovative way of designing places to store the nuclear reactor spent fuel. We've looked at the ocean, we've looked at geology. All of those projects benefited from improved project management information. And the big thing right now with AI is that not only will AI provide faster generation of decision support information, but the quality of the data is expected to increase. So all the things that I used to do by hand is now going to be done by AI automated capabilities. So you have to understand that having a formal project management system really only guarantees one thing, and that is that you as a decision maker will have better information faster. It won't make the decisions for you. And so what we've looked at over the years is, well, we created this project management certification. And some of you in the audience have earned your PMP certification. That little effort is my brainchild. And what it was designed for was to get some consistency across the environment of international and national projects, so that people are dealing from the same deck. And I understand that from what the minister said, that Parsons is one of the primary contractors on these projects. Parsons has been around the U.S. for a long time. We've worked with them for many, many years. And what they've determined and what they've found to be the case is that the problem that we have is not that we don't have good qualified people. We don't have the good qualified information system to provide them what they need across the spectrum. So the primary issue was, let's create a methodology that if we use it generically across the board, we're going to get consistency in our information. Well, that sounds good when you say it fast, but when you're dealing with the multiple language barriers, the geological barriers, we start to realize how important it is. However, with that said, we now have close to 2 million people who have become PMP certified, meaning they've all came up with the same basic configurations, the same basic approach to doing data analysis that we need across the world. That's 2 million is like a drop in the bucket when you think about how many projects we're doing that all require the skill set that people in this room have as their capability. So we've been able to manage projects for years very effectively, not as effectively or as efficiently as we'd like, but the fact of the matter is, good people make good things happen. And what we've tried to do with the implementation of the project management professional approach is to help those good people do what they do more effectively, more efficiently, and in a more timely way. So 2 million sounds like a lot, but when you look at the number of people who are responsible for managing just the projects the minister mentioned, I gotta tell you, I've been around a long time, I'm thinking, wow, I'm glad I'm not managing projects anymore, because the complexity has gotten increasingly challenging. The training aspect that was discussed is a big issue. We need to train people as they come up through the technical ranks. We have to train them to understand that managing projects is not quite the same as the engineering that's done to create the project in the first place. So we're dealing with this kind of an avenue, and I think that you'll see through the years, I used to say all the time, project management's not brain surgery. Now I would say it could be brain surgery with one hand tied behind your back. The complexities have gotten so intense, and the need for effective communication across boundaries has become so important that we are dealing with the need for consistency in our approaches. So we don't spend inordinate amounts of time just coordinating what you mean by what you say. If you're dealing from the same avenue, you're going to get that consistency in the development of that information. All right, let me look at the next slide. I'm not sure who's forwarding the slides, but I've got one more slide that I think is going to be very important for you in this environment. Now, so you understand my background, I quit working in 1984, and I started to spend my time in developing consistency in management systems. And since we went live with the PMP process in 1964, or 1984, I've devoted my time completely to expanding the understanding and the capabilities of what a project management approach, a methodology, a system, whatever word you choose, can add value to what you're doing. And so I spend most of my time on the road. In the last 3 years, I've been in 51 countries, sharing the potential of utilization of a consistent management approach. Now, my last slide has to do with the topic that was introduced recently, and that is AI. Now, I've been around for all the shiny bells and whistles, so every time something new comes along, it's going to be the savior of the system, and what we know to be the case is that those shiny things are passing fads in many cases. Agile if you're an IT person, earn value if you're a manager of large construction projects or system acquisitions for the Department of Defense in the U.S. But now we have AI. In the beginning, I thought AI was another shiny thing. I really thought that it too would pass and some other new thing would come along. Quantum computing. There's always something new. But in order to stay current, I took some courses. At 80 years old, I'm a college student. And taking these courses, what I found was AI is the real deal. AI is going to change the world of project management, construction management, anything that uses data to substantiate the decisions they make is going to be impacted by AI. And we're just in the beginning stages. AI has been around a long time, but only in the last couple of years as people begin to realize, wow, this can really impact my ability to make decisions. The key is I want to have good, sound data coming out of my project management system, and I want that information to not only be good, high quality, I want it to be delivered in times that we're not used to. We're going to be able to do some things that we've never done. In my early days, I was responsible for managing the data information for a large nuclear reactor project. And because of the reporting needs of clients and customers, every month we had to prepare a management report that allowed our sponsors, in this case, the Department of Energy, to confirm that we were doing all the right things. And that was my job, is to create that report that generated the information that the sponsor could reliably count on their money was being well spent. Well, this was a $300 million a year project. And the monthly report was ominous. It was big and it was detailed. And in order to make that report useful for the Department of Energy, I had to manually go through all the data, sort it and sift it in a way that added to the management decision-making process. And it took me approximately 1 week to prepare that report. Now that's on top of the 1 week that it took to get all the cost information out of the reporting system. Cost reporting is traditionally not very timely. By the time we get all the data into the system, sort it and sift it, and present it to me for decision-making purposes, 1 week had passed. Then another week passed by the time that I prepared the report. So now when I do finally prepare the report and deliver it to the Department of Energy, it's already 2 weeks late. So we've lost 2 weeks of decision-making capability waiting for data to come out of the system. So I thought, well, if AI is so good, which everybody says it is, I'm going to go ahead and mock up that report and see how long it takes me to get that information with AI. So I did that. It took a couple of days to format it the way it needed to be, and then did a dummy data transition piece to see how long would it take me to provide the decision-making information to the person making the decision. It's not me. I prepare the data. What took me a week in a mock-up status took me 4 hours. So 1 week had been condensed to 4 hours. The data was more accurate, the data was more timely, and it allowed the sponsor to recognize that their money was being spent effectively within a couple of days of close of the accounting month. All of that is a result of AI being able to provide that data. This is the problem. This slide is the problem that I see. You as construction project managers, as people who deal with the environment, deal with the AI, have a tendency to think about, if a little is good, imagine how much better a lot would be. Not better at all. In fact, the fact that we now have the ability to create mountains of data very quickly, that hasn't helped the decision-making process unless we refine it, unless we understand going in, out of that mountain of data, maybe 20% to 30% of it will add value to the decisions that you have to make. So it's not going to replace the requirement to have good data, not lots of data, good data to support the decisions that we make. I think that the true hero in the world of construction project management is not automated systems, is not AI. The true hero is the person who can take that information and make better informed and better timely decisions. Because the more timely we can make decisions, the more quickly we can correct issues that need to be paid attention to. So I think that you'll start to see a lot of talk about AI. It's here, I know. And in the US now, the PMI organization has embraced AI like I've never seen before. And so when they did that, the 2 million people who have project management professional certification immediately began to call me. Well, I know why they call me. They call me and they say, wait a minute, you said this would improve and make it easier to make good decisions, and now I'm being told that I'm going to lose my job. This is the way it came out in the beginning, is that AI will be impacting the job market by replacing a lot of people that do mundane data processing jobs. Now they're going to be automated in an AI format. So what are you telling me, Lee? Am I going to be out of a job? And initially that was the way it was received. It was not communicated in an effective way, and people were threatened that they were going to lose the job. So my response to that has been and will be forever is that AI will not ever take your job. I can say that with utmost confidence. However, the person who does not embrace AI will find they'd be replaced by someone who does. Not by AI, but by someone who has seen the benefits of AI and embraced them. It's going to be the same way it was with the project management professional. That certification went live in 1984, and by 1996, we only had 6,000 people who had become certified in project management. However, something interesting happened, and it's happening here as well with AI, but in 1996, IBM, Motorola, AT&T, every major corporation in America embraced the PMP process as their internal certification methodology. And so now the line went vertical. And in the next 10 years, we had over 300,000 people. 6,000 in the first 10 years, 300,000 in the second 10 years. And now it's reached 2 million. We are projecting that by the end of the decade, we will have 2.5 million people with certified project management capabilities. All that's going to do is improve the cross-communication because of the consistency. It's going to improve the decision-making capability. And by the end of the century, we'll be in the 3 or 4 million. And that's what we're trying to impress upon people, that we can do that. If you follow the job market, and I'm sure some of you do, if you follow the job market, the Forbes magazine last month predicted that by the close of this decade, we will need 30 million new project managers. 30 million. And so you're in a very sustainable job market because of what we do. And I think that as you focus on the sustainability issues and the environmental issues, you begin to see why the need for increased project management skills are needed in the next decade. So that's the idea that I have. It's the approach that I take. Unfortunately for you, none of this is going to make your decisions for you. It's only going to improve the information you have to base your decisions upon. So as we see this career growth go, we're going to see tremendous growth. And what we also see, thankfully, is that the number of PMPs that are going to be required will grow systematically, almost in sync with the people that are needed in a new project management environment. So be prepared. If your job is in construction, project management, or anything related, you are going to face these challenges in the future. That's all I've got to say.